when COVID first hit us, a lot of us thought the world was going to end. So as a result, a lot of the shipping lines were so stricken with fear, they actually pulled a lot of their vessels and scrapped them. It was costing them more money to just have those vessels lay idle than for them to scrap it and make whatever money they can from the scrap metal value of those vessels. Because they thought people weren't going to consume, the world was going to end, no one's going to move anything, I have to line my load. But that just turned out to be the best move that they could have made, because why? After the initial 6 months of the doldrums, we got bored, we started spending, and we started spending like hell was on fire. Me included, and I think every single one of you watching this included too. All this demand came in, we had no ships to carry them. Supply chains has to be re-oiled up. All of the factories that were closed down had to be re-engineered. There was a massive chip shortage. As a result, cars was getting released without the latest technology that they were designed for. So as a result of that, the shipping lines legitimately couldn't carry the demand that they had. They raised the prices to historical levels. At the height of this period, guys, I couldn't even move a container by me offering the shipping line 25,000 US dollars for one 40-foot container. Couldn't find that space. And to this day, a lot of shipping lines were making so much money. They were giving every one of their staff, including the crew on those vessels, bonuses, which has never happened before. They were throwing cash around like it was monopoly money. They started buying planes and wanted to get into air freight. This was how much money they had, right? They didn't know what to do with it. It completely turned the industry upside down. So 2024, let's get into it. Pricing started off relatively lackluster because people were already having a lot of fear from the doomsday talk of the financial markets that started off last year. And as a result, we continued on into this year, and a lot of the spending patterns weren't exactly promising. There was a common consensus that this great economic collapse and all that was coming. Nobody actually understood a lot of the mechanics behind these talks, but one thing was for certain, they certainly instilled a lot of fear into your everyday folk, the mum and dads and so forth. And a lot of the importers, as a result of the small orders coming through their distribution network, didn't know how to predict, didn't know what to order. So naturally, they were afraid on one hand. Secondly, there were no orders coming through. So they tied up their belts, they didn't order as much, they didn't know how to predict as well, just like what we described in the earlier years, right? As a result, demand wasn't there. So shipping line pricing was dropping. It went under $1,000 a 20 foot out of China. Currently, costs are right now $2,000 a 20 foot. And unfortunately, I suspect that this will only go higher. We're gonna start seeing $2,500 per 20 foot cost. We're not talking even sell rate, we're talking my costs here. So then you say, well, La, if demand isn't there, nothing's coming through, how come the prices are still going up? We reported on this channel many times over, the Red Sea saga, the disruption caused by the Houthi rebel groups attacking container vessels and so forth. This is a serious thing because over 30% of the global traffic comes through that waterway. So when you got 30% being affected, everything gets washed through, right? It's a domino effect. And as a result, Singapore became heavily congested.
Shipping delays in Singapore have more than doubled, hit by a shortage of ships, containers and congestion at ports. And this could translate into higher prices for consumers amid an impending supply chain crisis.
They have to get supply in there somehow through other ships, but when the ships do come through, all of a sudden you've got this bombardment of all these containers that has to come off. And Singapore being one of the most efficient ports in the world, they crumbled. And you can imagine the amount of chaos that exists there. So Gaza, Red Sea, massive impact on the overall global supply chain. Second part of the mix of why the price are going up is also due to the massive export of electrical vehicles from China to the rest of the world, and namely to South America. According to all reports, BYD, Build Your Dreams, this year, they've already exported 100,000 electric vehicles to South America. 100,000 cars takes a lot of ships to move, guys. So all the shipping lines saw in the revenue opportunity was like, wow, that's a great opportunity. Let me throw some ships there, make the money to satisfy the demand for the electric vehicles. Meanwhile, it has a beautiful second play on it. What is that second play? Well, I will go take the vessels out of the trade lanes where I'm not getting the margins where I want it, put into a lane where I can make money, which I don't traditionally make money. So I'm making something from where I normally wouldn't make, and I'm reducing supply on places where I'm not making money, which will create this bottleneck and artificial sort of demand, because you literally don't have enough ships in that lane now, but you still have this sort of base amount of containers or demand coming through. So the shipping lines are making that play. And as a result of all these little elements that I've discussed with you, has created this insurgence of pricing that you are seeing today. Where do we go from here? Well, I would like to think for the rest of this year, pricing will remain high. And whatever rates you are seeing now is probably still at its lowest at the moment. It's going to continue to go up until come Christmas. It will drop off sharply during Christmas, and it will have a resurgence. But after Chinese New Year 2025, my educated guess will be that the pricing will plummet sharply. So if you're one of those traders of goods that don't need to ship in December, but can ship in February, do that. Your cost of shipping is going to be day and night. So I hope this video was educational. If you're ever uncertain about what to do, where the market is, and how things are, come speak to us. We can probably predict a little bit better than our competitors because we take the time of educating ourselves, seeing the history, seeing what we've gone through, and trying to predict those patterns.